Are you considering a move to Portland, Maine, or a nearby location? Well, in this episode, we're going to explore the city of Saco, located just 15 miles south of Portland. Join me as we delve into the rich history and explore the picturesque Main Street, discuss the quality of the schools, highlight the beautiful beaches, and uncover a range of exciting activities. Lastly, we'll take a look at the current housing market and see why Saco's charming community might just be the perfect place for you to settle down. Buckle up because we're about to embark on this journey together, and we're going to get into that right now. Hey everyone, if this is your first time to the channel and you want to know everything there is to know about living in Maine in the towns and cities like Saco, then subscribe below, tap that bell so you can be the first to receive notifications of what it's like to truly live in Maine. Specifically, I focus on southern Maine. My name is Scott, I'm a realtor with eXp Realty, and my team and I, we get calls, texts, emails all the time from people just like you asking us what it's like to live here, and we love it. So if you're thinking about moving to Maine or selling in Maine, whether that's in 3 weeks, 3 months, or 3 years, shoot us a text, send us an email, give us a call, or what I like personally is book a Zoom call with us, and we'd be happy to help you make that smooth transition to Maine. As I mentioned in the beginning, we're going to dive into Saco Maine and all the benefits there is to living in Saco. But before I do that, I thought it was important that I talk about kind of a little bit about the history of Saco Maine, or specifically how it got its name. I find it quite interesting when you move to certain towns and a lot of people don't know about the towns. So I took a little few notes and I want to talk to you about how Saco became the name Saco. Some people call it Saco, so if you hear the name Saco, when you're from here, you know that they're not from here, because most people pronounce Saco as Saco if they're not from here, but it is called Saco. So here's a little bit of history about how Saco, the name Saco, became Saco. In 1617, yeah folks, way back then, Richard Vines, who was an explorer and a fur trader, spent a winter. He was exploring up and down the coast of New England, and he stopped and spent a winter in Winter Harbor, which is now known as Bedford Pool. And he was trading with the Abenaki Indians, and the Abenaki Indians called the area Saco. There were people coming back and forth from about that time, 1617 to 1631. And in 1631, permanent settlers came to the area, and again, they named the area Saco, named after what the Abenaki Indians called it, Saco. In 1653, according to my notes, the Massachusetts General Assembly, the courts, decided to make the whole area, name the whole area Saco. So you had the Saco River, and on one side of the Saco River, you have what we call today Saco, and on the other side of the Saco River, which is what we call Bedford, obviously, was all named Saco. And that stayed like it was until 1716. And in 1716, Sir William Pepperell purchased about 9,500 acres of land in what was then called Saco for a bunch of things, including timber rights. So the whole name got changed from Saco to Pepperell. Well, that didn't last very long, because in 1718, everything was reorganized into the name Bedford, named after a town in Devon, England called Bedford. So from 1718 to 1762, the whole area was called Bedford. But settlers who lived on the north side of Bedford, on the north side of the river, they would have to cross the river to go to church, to go to town meetings and assemblies, and it was pretty treacherous. You can imagine what it would be like to cross a river back in the late 1700s. It wasn't for the faint of heart, and old folks' tales say a lot of people died trying to do that. So fed up with having to cross the river all the time to attend all the meetings and churches and whatnot, they reverted the north side of Bedford on the Saco River back to Pepperell and started their own kind of city. So then you had Bedford on the south side of the river and Pepperell on the north side of the Saco River. Well, Pepperell was a pretty long word and hard to pronounce. Not only that, but it was hard to spell for many of the settlers back then. So in 1805, they reverted back to the name Saco, which was given to them, which was given to the area by the Eastern Abenaki Indians who originally settled this area. And the word Saco is a derivative from the Abenaki Indian language, meaning land where river comes out. So I found that kind of interesting. That is how Saco got its name, Saco. It was really from the Abenaki Indians. And Biddeford, which was incorporated in 1718, is the oldest town in Maine. So kind of interesting how that all came to be, the history of the area, at least how it started. There's so much rich history down here. There's so much to talk about. You can explore all that on the internet, or you can come up here and explore it for yourself. All right, let's talk about why people move to Saco. These aren't any specific orders, and I was born and raised in Saco, so I'm going to tell you what it's like to live in Saco. I actually live in Biddeford now, but growing up in Saco, I loved growing up in Saco. The first thing you'll recognize when you live in Saco is its Main Street. It's got a wide thoroughway, a wide Main Street. Towards the northern part of Main Street, you've got some amazing old Victorian type houses that were built by sea captains and the rich back then. Some of these houses are just massive and magnificent. I've sold a couple, and they're just the bones of these houses and how they're built was really a modern marvel. If you ever watch a show how things were built in America. And then if you come down kind of to the south side, the southern part of Main Street, Main Street's only about maybe a mile long. Maybe not even that long, but if you come down to the southern part of Main Street, that's where you got the boutique shops, you got the restaurants, the different shops, like you got, listen to me think, you got Traditions, which is an old Italian restaurant. You got Rapid Ray's, which is a famous hamburger place. You got Run of the Mill, which is kind of newer. It's been around about 15 years as part of the mill down over the railroad tracks a little bit. You got the Golden Rooster. You got all kinds of little eatery places in and about that area. So you got newer places that have come kind of in the last decade or so, like Run of the Mill, Carol Cafe, Fernleaf Bakery, Pacifico, the Deli Island, Sugar Mamas. These are all different restaurants that have come in and kind of enhance what has already been there. And Saco, its Main Street is a pretty desirable place to visit. There's a lot of things that happen on Main Street in terms of activities. There's a downtown organization called Saco Maine Street, and it hosts car shows and parades and different festivities based upon what the time of year we're talking about. It's pretty cool Main Street. The one thing that you notice about Main Streets, and Saco is kind of synonymous for this, if you have a thriving Main Street, you generally have a thriving city or town. Show me a broken down, dirty, old Main Street, and I'm going to show you poverty and people down on their luck. Show me a thriving Main Street, which is really, it starts with the Main Streets, the economic hubs of a town. I'll show you people that have lots of smiles on their face, thriving neighborhoods, and great places to live. And Saco is synonymous with that thriving community of the Main Street is active, there's a lot of things going on, and you have very affluent neighborhoods. You also have people that take pride in where they live, and you have a lot of people that love living in Saco for those reasons. So that's number one, I'd say, is the Main Street. The second reason why people move to Saco, and again, these aren't the only reasons, but the second reason why people move to Saco is definitely because of its school system. Saco has exceptional schools. I mean, hey, I went through the Saco school system. But in all honesty, Saco does have exceptional school systems. When you first move to Saco, if you have a family, you're just starting out with a family, when they reach about age 5, they're gonna either go to Young School, which is K through 2, or they're going to go to Fairfield School, which is K through 2. Now, depending on where you live in Saco, if you live pretty much on the west side of Route 1, you're going to go to Young School, and if you live on the east side of Route 1, the children are going to go to Fairfield School. And that's kind of the line, the delineation line. It jolts out a little bit closer as you get into the city, the downtown proper of Saco, but that's pretty much the dividing line between the two schools. Once you come out of the two elementary schools, either Young or Fairfield, everybody comes together and they go to Burns School, which is right outside the Main Street, right outside the downtown. And that's grades 3 through 5. Once you get out of Burns School, then you go to Saco Middle School, which is grades 6 through 8. Now, most kids go to Saco Middle School, and I'll explain why I say most in a minute. So you go to Saco Middle School, which is now part of back in the western part of Saco, past Young School, further west, kind of getting out on the Buxton Road on your way to Buxton. But that's where Saco Middle School is. And you go to Saco Middle School for grades 6 through 8, like I said. And then once you graduate Saco Middle School and you head to high school, you get to go to the prestigious Thornton Academy, or better known as TA. Now, I got some notes here about TA. I should know a lot of this off the top of my head, but the school has changed so much since I graduated from Thornton Academy back in the 80s. It's quite impressive what's happening at TA. First of all, Thornton Academy was founded in 1811, making it, I believe, the oldest academy in the state. Maybe one of the oldest academies in the country. It's the largest high school in Maine in terms of enrollment, and it's a kind of semi-private school. So what I mean by that is, if you live in Saco, you get to go to Thornton Academy. I wouldn't say for free, because obviously if you live in Saco, you pay taxes just like everybody else, and some of those taxes go to the school system. But Saco never built its own high school because Thornton Academy existed since 1811. And so what they do is, instead of having to build their own school, they just pay Thornton to send their kids, if you live in Saco, to Thornton Academy. If you also live in Dayton or Arundel, you can go to Thornton Academy as well. Now, if you don't live in Saco or Dayton or Arundel, you can still go to Thornton Academy, but it costs money. And there are about 30 communities in Maine that send kids to Thornton Academy. Not because they don't have their high school, it's just because the parents want their kids to go to Thornton Academy. And then, to expound upon that even further, there are about 40 countries that have kids that go to Thornton Academy. Actually, Thornton Academy's enrollment, 11% of its enrollment is international students. Some quick tips about Thornton Academy, which I found interesting, is it has 11:1 teacher ratio. It has over 200 different types of classes. It has 200 championship titles, 50 different clubs. Again, I said 11% of it is from abroad, and it's a campus environment. It's 51 acres, and there's about 21 buildings at Thornton Academy. So what I loved when I went to Thornton Academy was, you weren't in the same building every day. You'd go outside, you'd walk from class to class. It's pretty cool to be able to do that, especially in the springtime and in the fall time. You know, in the wintertime, when I was going to school, it was a little tricky because, you know, you had snowstorms and stuff. If you were in school, you'd have to obviously leave one building, go to another, or if it was raining pretty hard. But it's a campus environment, and it's pretty awesome to be able to go to a school like that. You're not stuck in the same building all day. It's got a sprawling campus, huge football field, turf, lights, a lot of grounds, a lot of activities. Thornton Academy is the real deal, guys, and honestly, a lot of people I've heard move to Maine and Saco specifically to go to Thornton Academy. I met a couple from Austin, Texas not too long ago, and they were attending a soccer game at Thornton Academy with their son, and their son said, I want to go to the school. And sure enough, they moved to Maine. They live in Saco because their child wanted to go to Thornton Academy. Now, I'm sure that's the exception of the rule, but Thornton Academy is a pretty prestigious school, and it's one of the reasons why people move to Saco. Another reason why people move to Saco is its beaches. Now, Saco has two beaches. You have Ferry Beach State Park, which is a part of the State Park Association. It's not a part of the State Park kind of beaches. And then you have Bayview. Bayview is Saco's beach. And both those beaches actually are connected together. You can walk from Bayview and cross over Ferry Beach State Park onto that beach. And I'm going to show you a map here. If you look in the map above, there's Camp Ellis, which is the farthernmost eastern tip of Saco, where the mouth of the Saco River comes out. And from Camp Ellis, you walk all the way along the beach. It's about 7 miles. You cross over Ferry Beach State Park, Bayview. You come into Ocean Park, and you go to Old Orchard Beach, and then you come into Scarborough up to Pine Point. In both that area, that whole area in the middle, that's Saco Bay. And so from Camp Ellis, which has a jetty by the Saco River, to Pine Point, which has a jetty by the Nonsuch River, that's the Saco Bay, and that's where the Saco beaches, that's where the beaches are located. I love going to the beaches. Ironically, I like going to the beaches better in the wintertime than I do the summertime, because in the summertime, a lot of people go to the beach, and especially with Old Orchard Beach being right next door, you get a lot of people down in that beach because they got amusement parks and all kinds of stuff. And we'll talk about Old Orchard Beach in another episode. But why I like going to Saco beaches that area in the wintertime is because I have a dog. And you're not allowed to take your dog on the beach. I believe it's from April 1st to October 31st, because they have these birds that nest in the dunes and in the grass, and they don't want them to be disturbed. So dogs have to be on a leash. My dog does not like to be on a leash. I have a training collar, and I keep her on voice command. But so after October 31st, I can go out on the beach and take my dog and throw the ball in the water, throw those balls that you whip down the beach, and she just takes after them. And she loves being on the beach during the wintertime. And honestly, it's quite peaceful being on the beach. Yes, it's cold, but in a previous episode we talked about living in Maine. I don't really mind the cold, and if you dress for it, it's actually pretty awesome, because when you're on a beach in Maine in the winter, you don't have snow because obviously the ocean has washed away the snow, but it's so peaceful and quiet. And yeah, it's a little chilly, but it really is a place of zen, at least for me and for my dog Brindley, who loves going on the beach. So the beaches are definitely a key attraction to living in Saco. Another key attraction of living in Saco is the activities that you can do in Saco. So right in Saco alone, and there's all kinds of activities to do here, but you got Fun Town, Splash Town, USA, which is the very first job I ever had in high school, where it's like an amusement park, and they keep expanding it. It's owned by a family from Saco, the Cormiers, but it's a pretty big amusement park. It's not like a King's Dominion or Disney World or anything like that, but it's a pretty big amusement park. And what they did was they expanded from just the amusement park to now they have Splash Town, where water slides and all kinds of stuff like that. So you got Fun Town, Splash Town USA is what they call it, which is a little further out on in the northern part of Saco, heading into Scarborough. You got Aquaboggan, which is a giant park. It's all sliding, tubing, in the water, and they got wave pools and all stuff like that. You have a lot of hiking trails that you can go on. You have Cascade Falls, which is a kind of a mini waterfall system that you can go to. And of course, you have the beaches. You have the Eastern Trail, which picks up at Thornton Academy, and you can go that. And then you have a lot of places you can go camping. There's a lot of parks, like I said. In the western part of Saco, you have a lot of open space. And what's also cool about Saco is what you have right in the downtown. You have the Downeaster. Now, the Downeaster is a train system that comes from Brunswick part of the year, but it's really from Portland south to Boston. And Saco is one of its stops. In the summertime, you can take the Downeaster from Saco to Old Orchard Beach. I don't think it stops at Old Orchard Beach in the wintertime, but literally, I say Boston's in my backyard because I can drive like a half a mile, park at the Downeaster train station, hop on a train, and be at North Station in Boston in like a couple hours. Walk around the city, go to a game, enjoy the food, the tours, see the sights, and get back on the Downeaster and come back. It's pretty cool. So the Downeaster's right there. A lot of people, COVID's kind of changed a little bit, but a lot of people who live in this area used to work in Boston. Now they kind of work remote, but you could just hop right on the Downeaster and be in Boston, and it's pretty convenient. So the Downeaster is definitely a benefit of the area. Finally, let's talk about the housing market and why people are moving here. Now, it's not that cheap to live in Saco, Maine. The average price of houses in Saco, I just looked at the statistics for May. The average house was selling around $556,000. What that tells me, and what I know for a fact, is it's because there's a lot more development happening in Saco, and those are the kind of newer homes and the higher price homes that are being sold. A lot of the existing homes, you're not seeing that much on the market right now. The market has kind of taken a dip in terms of the amount of houses that's available, but you're seeing a lot of higher price homes and development of homes being built and bought. And on average, if a house is priced right in Saco, it goes under contract in about 4 days, because it's again a desirable area to live. Not only Saco, but Biddeford and Scarborough and anything really south of Portland, even a little bit north of Portland. Southern Maine is a desirable place to live, and there are a lot of people coming here. So the housing market is tight. You have to be patient, you have to be persistent. And again, guys, we do this all the time. We help people either move within the state, sell their property and move to another property, or we help them relocate here, and we help them make that smooth transition. We've done it a lot of times, and that's the purpose of this video, really. It's to help you understand kind of the area a little bit, and to understand that we're a resource. We're here to help. Obviously, we're realtors, so we know the market pretty well, but we help you make that transition. Oftentimes, guys, I've gone into homes with videos and stuff, or FaceTime, and shown people from afar, this is what the house looks like, or this is what the area looks like, answer a lot of their questions, schedule when they're going to come to town, set up some showings, show them around the community. That's what we do. We help people make that smooth transition. So like I said in my opener dialogue, if you're looking to move here in 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years, who knows, we're here to help. Guys, I hope this video was educational and helpful to you. If you have any questions, drop the content below. And until next time, I hope to see you around town. Over and out.